Long ago, five men set out from their own paths to achieve their own destinies. Now they are brothers, united under one cause. Alone they are strong, together they are unbreakable. They are bonded by metal.
One. Welcome to Bonded by Metal, the show where we talk all things about metal. Today I am joined by my co-host, Pope Metallicus. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great, and the topic of today's video really doesn't get enough attention, in my opinion, because all four of their albums are some of the finest examples of metal in the late '80s, especially coming out of Germany. And well, why don't you tell the good folks at home who we're covering today?
We are covering the band, the iconic band, perhaps the queen of metal if Lee Aaron didn't steal the title for herself, Warlock, with lead singer Doro Pesch. Also, maybe a familiar name that comes up a little later on. The current the bassist, I believe it's let me pull up his name real quick. Um, is the current I'm blanking on the guy's name, but he is the bassist with Alice Cooper now.
Yes.
Um, Started with Doro. I'm sorry that I blanked on the name there, but I'll put that in the post. But he got his start on Triumph and Agony. Also, we can get into this later once we cover it, but you know who also makes an appearance on Triumph and Agony, right?
If I remember right, Andy LaRocque's on this record too.
Yes, but I'm thinking of a specific song. There's a specific song where there's a guest that played an instrument on it.
You might have to remind me.
Well, we'll cover that when we get to it because we've got a couple albums to get through. The first album we're covering is Burning the Witches by Warlock. So, a
Which
debut
I'm,
album.
I'm guaranteeing is not at all where Burning Witches got their name from.
You know, yeah, but the unfortunate thing is they've never covered the title track of this song, which I'm dying for them to do. But
I think they're waiting for Doro to retire to do that because you don't do Warlock songs without Doro. Because
yeah,
why wouldn't you?
no. Here's the thing, and this is what I like about Doro. And before we get into the album, I guess we just got to talk about Doro, or we could talk. Let's talk about Doro at the end. Let's
Yeah.
save her for the end.
Well, let's just say she's an absolute sweetheart and also one of the best metal singers of the decade.
Yeah, and she I guess we could just mention it now. She's one of those people that just loves being in the scene. Like it's not about fame for her, it's just fun for her. It's not work. She loves seeing the up and coming bands. She loves performing with the stars. She just enjoys what she does.
And she did come out with a song a few years ago called "We Are the Metalheads."
Right, and she's a true metalhead. Like she is not fake. She is legitimately like a hardcore metalhead.
Like she lives for the music.
And that's why she is the queen of metal. There is no
To the
disputing
point
it.
where I've seen interviews with her, and she what word do you want to use? She intentionally did not have children because she just loved the music that much and did not want to devote that time to anything else.
Yeah, yeah. And it just, I absolutely love her. I love everything that she's done, including the debut album that we just mentioned, "Burning the Witches." Uh, so it's not perfect. There are some duds on it. I think like "Homicide Rocker," "Without You," and "Holding Me" are kind of But what
They're not
hits?
bad. They're not outright bad. They're just okay.
Eh. Well, I think though maybe it hurts for me because what hits in this album hits hard. Like "After the Bomb," "Dark Fade," underrated Metal Racer, and obviously you got the Titanic title track.
Yeah, and I mean, after the bomb, especially, is one of those ones that like just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and like listen to it today to kind of get refamiliarized with some more like Dark Fade just has a classic '80s metal
I mean, the
sound to
whole
it.
album does, but yeah, Dark Fate is like, you could point to this in a music class at like Berkeley or any other um, music school and be like, this is what late 80s metal sounds like.
Now, the
And this is
interesting
why people loved it.
and now the interesting thing with this album, which is kind of interesting, is the original um label was Mausoleum Records, and it was only released in Europe. It was only released in Germany at the time, and it was bootlegged over into Great Britain.
Well, that
Is
was not an uncommon thing at the time. Of like a newer band, you would get local play and get distribution in your market, and then if you made it, they might re-release the album for global sales.
yeah, and
Whereas nowadays, but that was when the bootleg like tape trading circuit was massive. Of just like, have you heard these guys yet? No, here you go, and like
right,
you trade one back in return.
and contrary to what Lars would tell you, bands loved that back then because that's how you got popular, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like, hey, check this song out on Spotify or the YouTubes. No, it's, hey, I don't, you're limited on your money. Records are never cheap. So I got to know what I want to buy, and oh well, here's this bootleg demo.
If you had the chops, you would go out and buy the fucking record.
Right, exactly. But
And by the way, that was still true in the Napster days. Because you know what I did when I first heard "And Justice for All"? That I downloaded off of Napster.
Went and bought it.
Yep, first album I ever bought with my own money.
But I think though the big takeaway from this album is, while the production value really is not good, there is a raw energy that carries this album. That it's raw, it's unpolished, but it's a lot like a lot of those '80s metal albums.
I compare it to Wasp's first album, where the production wasn't great, but that was actually kind of one of the selling points of it. Sounded raw, it sounded live, like it gave you a real feel for what that band sounded like if you saw them on stage.
Yeah, and like, was it like, and we're not talking about Wasp, but like Wasp does the live studio album, Live in the Raw, and you can't even tell that it's a live album because everything else sounds like a live album.
Yeah, but with a first record like that, like it does kind of remind me of Wasp's first album, where I don't think they had the money for good production.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, if you go back and watch clips from early Warlock at the time, and I think it would have been this lineup too, like doing things like Burning the Witches live, they're just as good, if not better, live as they are on the album. It doesn't sound any different.
Yeah, and if anything, it's a little better, I think.
Yeah, and so now we kind of jump onto the next album, and that's Hellbound. And I mean, even in Doro's own words, she felt like this was a step down because she went and got trained how to sing better, right? Now, she's already a force of nature, and if I'm not mistaken, she may have had polio as a kid. There's something she had as a kid where she was or was it tuberculosis? She was really sick as a kid, and singing was something that was helpful to her.
Yeah,
but
if I remember right, she was asthmatic.
Yeah, there was something. I wish I could remember. If I can find it, I'll put it in post. But so she went to go get classically trained, and now they, a year later, they come out with the album Hellbound. And in her own words, she thinks it's a step down because she goes, we went away from that raw sound we had, and we went for a very polished look, right? Blackie Lawless will, bringing up Wasp again, Blackie Lawless will tell you this for The Last Command, whereas The Last Command is a great album, and it's probably the best oh gosh, I'm not going to get into the Wasp debate, but
that's its own other show, which we'll get to probably before long, because all of us on this show are massive Wasp fans.
Yeah, but Blackie will tell you is that he feels that album was too quick. He felt that from where they were from their first album Wasp to The Last Command, he feels the jump in production was way too quick. And he says it feels like a fourth album rather than our second album.
And he's not wrong on that, and I think that also true here.
Right. But anyways, I say all that to say that that's how kind of Dora feels about Hellbound, and that's kind of how I see Hellbound, right? I think the first half of the album kind of is just like I don't think Hellbound, All Might, and Earthshaker Rock are that good. Wrathchild is when the album starts to pick up, but it's songs like Out of Control, Time the Dying, Shout It Out that really make this album stand out. Because again, Out of Control is a typical 80s metal song that just makes a metal 80s metal the best era for metal.
Yeah, it was just pure, like fast, loud, and out of control.
Yeah,
Like
and
there was no limit. All gas, no brakes, onward to glory.
you know, because I have that pulled up, is the album art. When you go to the first album, right? And by the way, that first cover is not what Dora really wanted for that cover. She originally always wanted the Triumph and Agony, uh, which we will show once we get to post. But uh, that's the kind of album cover she wanted, and I still think Burning the Witches is a phenomenal album cover. However, the album cover for Hellbound is kind of a step down. Worth just pointing out.
Yeah, and I think it's because too a lot of the labels at this point had a lot of creative control.
Yeah.
Especially for a newer band that they weren't sure was going to be successful yet. The people at the labels would play it a lot safer than the bands themselves would like, and that kind of led to some subpar covers, I think, in a lot of ways.
Well,
but
Doro even had brought this up, that Hellbound was their attempt at getting into the United States, right?
Yeah, it was their bid for commercial success, and unfortunately, this one didn't work out. Although they would later.
Although it did, in the German Offiziel Top 100, it did place 53. So it's not like it wasn't. Again, it's not without its merits, but in a way, it's a step back. But it's also it's a step back in the sense that it's for the leap forward, right? You're running to get a running start. You kind of have to take a step back.
I would also say that, like, it was big in the German market, but there were so many metal bands in America from either Britain or the United States or Canada in the 80s that I think if they'd tried to break through and like made that their one real effort to break through into the States, I think they would have got lost in the crowd.
Yeah. And I believe it did get into the United States. It just never...
It never charted.
It never charted. But again, sometimes there's a logical step back. And yeah, obviously you don't always want to play it safe, but sometimes you just need to get your foot in the door, because once you get your foot in the door, you make that move. And the next album, boy, does it make that move. True as steel. Okay, again, it's a little too safe, it's a little too polished, but when it hits, oh my goodness, does it hit.
And you can tell this is more the album the band wanted to make rather than the one the record execs were playing with in the background and making sure that it was as commercial as possible.
Yeah, and True as Steel, I will say, it is what this is the prelude to Triumph and Agony, right? I think we can all, like, when a really good epic song, like, when I think of something like, I'm not going to compare it to The Hellion, but compare it to Battle Hymn before One Shot at Glory, right? It's that build-up where it's like, okay, the next thing I'm going to hear is going to be epic. That's what this album does with, right off the bat, things like Mr. Gold. I think an underrated Warlock song.
Oh no, it absolutely is. Because most people I mentioned that name to have no idea what it is, and I think that's a shame.
And it is a typical 80s metal song. Again, we're hearing the word typical, but is it
That's
typical?
Not a bad thing in some ways.
But is it typical when you're taking it to a whole nother level with Doro on vocals?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, when me and Imperatus did our rock and roll religion on Nuclear Assault, it's a stereotypical thrash band, and that's not a bad thing.
No, sometimes you need variety in the market, because at a certain point, I can listen to Megadeth so many times, but I want to hear someone's different twist on it.
Well, but also like they are like the prototypical thrash metal band, but sometimes that's just what people want to hear.
Yeah,
There's nothing out of the ordinary, nothing weird, just good, fast, aggressive, and in this case, just 80s speed and heavy metal.
yeah, and me and you talk about a lot about it with the new wave of traditional heavy metal bands, right? And this wasn't referenced in our video, which we kind of should have got to a little bit, but I think it's a whole broader topic. Is a lot of the newer bands sound the same, or they sound a lot like another band, and they're just typical. But it's not bad to flood that variety either, because it's
Yeah,
nice to have variety.
and but it's also like sometimes that formula just works.
It just works. But when we move on to the next song, we have an anthem, not just for Warlock, but for all of metal in the 80s, especially. But even now, you want to talk about songs that will get metalheads going. I don't think you can look hard. You don't even need to look further than the Titanic, the epic, not enough hyperboles to describe Fight for Rock.
Yes, absolutely. Like this was one of those like moments where like even if you were just kind of a casual fan before, when you heard that come out the speakers, you're just like, you guys get it.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to say it to you right now. You can not like your Judas Priest, you cannot like your Iron Maiden, whatever, fine. If you can't listen to Fight for Rock and not like it, you are not a metalhead, or at the very least, you are a disgrace to metalheads. And I immediately will revoke your metalhead card. Turn in your battle vest, give up all your Metallica t-shirts, you don't get to wear them. You are not a metalhead if you do not like this song.
I mean, I say the same thing about like songs like the Toxic Waltz from Exodus. It's just like it's a song for the fans, by the fans, and if you don't like it, there's the door. Get out.
And Pope, I'm gonna pull up the lyrics. How is this song not metal? Right? Like how? Like how about this, right? Don't touch my music. We're ready to fight. Fight for rock. Like, how is this not metal?
No, it absolutely is. And the funny part is they would top this anthem on their next album.
Yeah, like, dude, like, there's some good stuff on the rest of this album, but I feel like those first two songs, Mr. Gold and Fight for Rock, just take away, just overshadow anything else that True as Steel has to offer. I think Midnight in China is good, but you just don't recapture anything else like Fight for Rock. Although, you know what? I'm going to give you a little bit of control right here. Is there any other song that maybe on True as Steel that you would like to highlight?
I mean, you covered the two I absolutely adore on this record already, being Mr. Gold and Fight for Rock. And like you say, Midnight in China is a really good one. The rest of it's just kind of good. I mean, it's not that they're forgettable in any way. It's just I don't think there's any that stand out from the others other than those.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's even a discredit. I think that's just more of just how good those two songs are. I think that's literally just it.
You're right. Like, it's not a discredit to anything else on this record. It's just those songs are absolutely incredible.
But now, again, and we may we're going to spend the rest of the episode just talking about this album, because I think we have just to go song by song. I don't think there's... I'm pausing for suspense, but also I'm trying to just put into words, not even, dare I say it, Lemmy himself could not have a way to describe this album. This album is not music of the gods, it's music of God. It is probably in my top 10 or 15 metal albums of all time. Actually, screw metal out. Remove the metal, top 10, 15 album all time, ever. Period. It's better than some Priest records. It's better than Maiden records. It's better than Motorhead records. Not all of them. But if you want,
and I would dare to say most.
Yes. If you want an album that defines 80s heavy metal, if you're a newbie or you're looking to get into the good old days of metal, you have to look no further than Warlock's, and I'm going to pause for suspense, Triumph and Agony. Oh my gosh. What a record. Dude, I just think we need to pause and just let the album just resonate with you. Just the thought of this album resonate with you.
I mean, how can you get any better than the title track, the immortal metal anthem that has lasted throughout the decades? That is All We Are.
But you say that, but then All We Are, classic anthem, perfect stadium song. It is fast, it's heavy, it's chantable, it's singable, but yet somehow...
I'm going to correct myself on that one because they immediately follow it up with I Rule the Ruins.
No, 3-minute warning. I Rule the Ruins is third, but you're close. It's 3-minute
warning.
Yes,
3-minute warning's in there too.
And probably some of Doro's most, like, all right, we're going to back it up just a little bit. So remember how we were talking about how Doro was talking about being professionally trained and how she felt that between Hellbound and Triumph and True as Steel, that it was a little too polished, right? She was too polished. She was too produced, right? This is the album where she realized, okay, I know how to sing. I've always been a good singer, but I know how to sing now. Let me take that raw energy that I had on Burning the Witches and just combine that with this elite kind of trained singer way I'm singing.
And I think she needed that classical training to be able to know to do that.
Yes,
for
sure.
Like, I need to know how to sing properly so I can know when not to.
Right. And the thing is guys, forget female vocalist. She's probably a top 10 metal vocalist, period.
If you say anything otherwise, you're a heretic.
Right? Like, she's up there with the Bruce Dickinsons, the Rob Halfords. She is... And again, a pause for when people are telling me that metal is sexist. No, it is a male, heavily dominated genre. However, there is not one metalhead on this planet that will speak ill of Doro, because Doro is one of the best vocalists of all times.
At the very least, they will not do so more than once, because they'll probably get punched in the mouth immediately after by the guy standing next to them.
I have never met anyone who doesn't say that says, "Oh yeah, I don't like Warlock."
Or at the very least, when they say that, it's just like, no.
Excuse you?
Bye. I beg your finest.
Yeah.
I beg your to borrow a phrase from Madman Fenrir. I beg your finest fucking pardon. Get out.
Give me your Cannibal Corpse battle vest right now. We're burning that. You don't have the right to own that anymore.
You're done now.
But 3-minute warning, as we addressed, right? One of her crazier vocal.
One of her like more out there vocal performances. It's not a normal song for
her. And just again, speed metal, power metal. I don't know what you call it. I just call it pretty darn good. Is what I call it. A pretty darn good is putting it lightly. I call it just anything, but it's just amazing. But that turns into I Rule the Ruins, which, how do you top, dude? How do you
one of the most fist pumping, borderline thrash metal songs Warlock ever did.
Oh, it gets thrashier though. See, it gets heavier. See, you think, okay, we got 3 great tracks. Okay, it's gotta fall off. It's gotta fall off because you get the anthem, you get the fast speed metal, you get the thrashy fist pumping song. Okay, next song is a little slower, but yet it's heavy. It's haunting. Kiss of Death, haunting. It's right now. You got a little bit of everything. Now you do hit maybe the one blemish on the album. Make Time for Love. It's just not a good ballad. I'm sorry.
But at this point, like, every metal album had to have at least one ballad on it, like, by contractual obligation. So I don't really blame the band for this one.
Listen, remember what I told you? We said it in our new wave of traditional heavy metal episode. You need the ballad so you get laid, and you know what? It's a trade I'm willing to make.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm a guitarist. Guitars have helped ugly people get laid since, they were invented.
Okay, but now you might be thinking, okay, the album's gonna suck now. No, no, no. See, they needed you to take a break because you needed a breather from all that just epic metal because your mind might just explode. You might collapse dead on the floor because it's too much to handle, Pope. It's too much to handle
It's
because
a speed bump for your sanity.
right, exactly. Slow down, take a breather, right? Relax. Let Doro soothe you, right? Let her beautiful voice soothe you.
Right. Just like chill out, grab a beverage. We'll be right back.
Because we're following that up with East meets West. Ugh. Ugh. Maybe my second favorite song on the album.
Wouldn't personally be mine, but everything on this album absolutely slams. So,
Right? But again, okay. Now, remember that little guest appearance I told you about? And I was saying it gets thrashier. What about
yeah,
Touch of Evil?
that's true. Who's the guest on Touch of Evil?
You ready? You ready for your mind to be blown? Are you ready to dive off a bridge?
Bonesaw is ready.
Cozy Powell.
No shit.
Yes, I was watching something on Warlock.
I
Cozy Powell.
thought that was a really great drum performance by Warlock's drummer, but that would explain why.
Cozy Powell on Touch of Evil. And I'm surprised you didn't get it with my jumping off a bridge joke. But anyways, I digress about Kennedy
We're
driving.
not gonna go there.
I went there. But again, a crazy vocal performance off of this song. Again, this song could easily get buried amongst just the epicness and do that at your peril. Like maybe the best way to listen to this album is like we said, listen to the first 4 songs. When Make Time for Love comes on, get up, take a walk, take a piss, get a drink, sit back down, put your headphones on because by then hopefully it'll be over. Right? Okay. I unboxed what I heard, and now all of a sudden I'm getting hit with East meets West, a Touch of Evil, to follow it up by the most underrated song in the album, I think, although Spotify reviews don't seem to indicate that. I would play this song at my wedding. I like it so much. Metal Tango.
It's not one of my favorite songs on the record, but it's a very unique one. It's a very different song for Warlock.
It's almost got a Sabotage feel to it, if you want to know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it does kind of have that power metal tinge to it.
Right? But I like it because it's different. That's why I love it. It's different. Like, it's just, okay, where the heck did this come out of? But it's like, I like what I'm hearing. Because
it's one of those, like, maybe not what I was expecting, but not unwelcome.
And I think and what I like about songs like this, okay, because I always think about a lot of songs and, okay, who would I want to see cover this, right? It's a weird little fun thing I like to do. I've always done it since I've been listening to music is, who would I want to hear cover this song? And I've always figured you can't cover the obvious song, right? You really shouldn't be, right? I know a lot of bands will cover the obvious, like, and I bring up Alice Cooper as an example, right? A lot of people will cover 18, right? And it makes sense because that is a monumental song, right? But
Fair.
I've always liked it but to me, to prove that you're a fan, but it also works because then you can kind of make it your own song if it plays off really well, is to cover the song that no one knows about that's really good. So Metal Tango kind of gives me that, like, I could see some other bands covering this, like I could even see someone like Ghost covering this, like kind of making it like Dance Macabre a little bit.
Yeah, I
making
could hear
it like a poppier, but that like doomy kind of sound. It could work. Or again, someone like Sabotage, even though they wouldn't. But you get where I'm going with that, right? That's why I love these songs because they're obscure little tidbits that if you like it, you're gonna look at someone and go, "Oh, you're a fan. You know what you're talking about."
Well, it's like we said in our Demolition Hammer video. It's like you see someone wearing a Metallica shirt. Oh wait, never mind. Other than Ride the Lightning, obviously,
Right.
or Kill 'Em All. You see someone wearing a Demo Hammer shirt, you know they're a fucking metalhead.
Right. Exactly. Now, we do get into Cold War. It is what it is.
Not my
It's
favorite, and again, not my favorite song on this record, but it's not outright horrible.
no. And then you get to the one ballad that Doro hit right.
For Immer. Oh, yes.
I could get choked up at this song. I want it played at my funeral. Because it encapsulates metal, but maybe even deeper for Warlock, because Triumph and Agony charted in the U.S. Billboard 200 at 80. It was in the Finnish albums, the official Finnish charts, at 25. German albums, 23rd. Swiss albums, 30. UK, 54. So, I say all this to say that Warlock had hit their peak, but it came crashing down. And for Emmer, I apologize for butchering that pronunciation.
Yeah, it would be like for Immer, I guess. German is not a language I speak very well, but I do at least know some of the pronunciation.
It is the sweet kiss goodbye for Warlock. Because we're talking Warlock, we have to talk about the unfortunate shift. I don't want to say end of Warlock, because at this point the original band was gone.
Yeah.
Right? It was just Doro, but a sack of human excrement their management in Europe decided to steal the rights to the band's name. And she just recently got it back, but she couldn't tour as Warlock because this sack of shit stole it. And this was the end of Warlock. Now, it did turn into her solo career, but that's a whole other topic for another time. I know that there's this thing where Force Majeure is a Warlock album, but it doesn't have the Warlock logo on it, but it was recorded. Whatever. That's a whole
It's a whole
discussion.
rabbit hole unto itself. And they're not the only band that happened to. There's another band that me and Disciple both love that this also happened to.
Yeah. And
we'll get to them.
Do you want to name them just for a little spoiler?
That would be the criminally underrated Grim Reaper.
Yeah. That's one that we will have to bring our dear friend Brian on for. Because he did make a video about Grim Reaper. I will post that in the recommended videos.
And I've featured them heavily on Midnight Mass.
Yeah. Great. Dude, don't get me going on Grim Reaper. But, yeah, Warlock. 4 short, sweet albums that only span a matter of 3 years or 4 years, thereabouts, from 87 to 84 to 87. So you got an album 84, 85, 86, 87. 4 short years, but 4 short, glorious years.
Before being cut down in their prime by industry fuckery.
Yeah, and, it wasn't cut down because Doro, he'd even said it, the original lineup was gone. She was Warlock, always was Warlock, so why not just call it Doro?
Yeah, I mean, she's not wrong when she says that, but I hate to see a band with that kind of name recognition and that kind of fan base by the time they were unfortunately taken from us far too soon go that way. Like, bands change members all the time. I mean, look at King Diamond.
Yeah, there's so many to look at.
There's just been a rotating list of musicians behind him.
Look at a band that we're gonna have to cover at some point, like Anthem, right? The Japanese Titan band, right? Like,
we're gonna have to do a show on some of the titans of Japanese metal, like Anthem and Loudness.
But to close, Pope, let's give it out of 10 rating out of all the 4 albums that we covered. So, starting with Burning the Witches. Out of 10, what do you give it?
For a debut album, I'd give it a solid 8.
I'm about there with you. I'm going to bump it up.
It's not the best album I've ever heard, but for a first attempt, A+.
You know what? I'm going to bump it up to 8.4. I said 8.3, but you know what? It came out in 84. I'll give it an 8.4.
Fair enough.
Great debut album. I would argue one of the best debut albums of all time. One of them. I don't know where in my ranking of debut albums, which maybe that should be a video, our favorite debut albums. But we're gonna just focus on Warlock for right now. Hellbound, out of 10, what do you give it? I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
I'm similar. I would probably bump it up to a 7.
Okay. True as Steel, I'm gonna give it a 7 just because of Fight for Rock. That alone makes it a good album.
Yeah, I think that's like a 6.8, 6.9 for me too. So right in the same range.
Triumph and Agony, 10 is too low.
Yeah, it's 10 out of 10. Like, there's no even arguing that.
No, it's infinite. It's just an infinity. It's just Sideways 8 Infinity. There's no question to that album's greatness. But
on a scale out of 10, it's a buy it.
Right. Well, this was a fun one. This conversation probably went on a lot longer than I would like to. But guys, I felt it was a good conversation. But hey, it's not a good conversation if you're not involved. So, if you have any thoughts on Warlock, whether you agree with us, disagree with us, or maybe you want to add something that we missed, a tidbit, or your favorite song, it doesn't really matter, please let us know below, because it's the best way to get us traction is by comments and liking that video and hitting that subscribe button. I see you guys. Until I rear my voice in the next one, live hard and stay free. And Pope, you sign them out with your signature. Goodbye.
I mean, what else can we say? Take care, stay safe. I love you all, and I'll catch you next time.